In the golden age of animation, when Looney Tunes was rising to prominence, there was one character who remained shrouded in mystery: Granny. Unlike the slapstick chaos of Bugs Bunny or Daffy Duck, Granny existed on the fringes, watching, waiting. But what if her presence wasn't just comedic relief? What if Granny's origin predates the Looney Tunes franchise itself? This theory delves into an eerie past, suggesting that Granny was based on a real person, one whose tragic history was erased from public knowledge. It all starts in the 1920s with a strange disappearance. Reports from small-town newspapers in Kansas, 1921, tell the unsettling story of a woman named Eleanor Nellie Creighton, a widow who lived alone in a rural home. Nellie was known for her peculiar habits, feeding birds that never seemed to leave, whispering to herself, and keeping her doors permanently locked. Neighbors claimed to hear unexplained noises from inside her house at night: mechanical wires, frantic scribbling, the flapping of wings when no birds were present. Then, one evening, Nellie vanished. Her home was found abandoned, except for a single rocking chair still moving and a handwritten note.
He follows me in the mirrors. I cannot stay. The bird knows the way.
Eleanor Creighton was never found. Fast forward to the 1930s, when Warner Brothers was developing its earliest animated shorts. According to a forgotten studio interview from 1942, animators discussed basing a character on an old woman who once lived near the studio's Burbank lot. One artist claimed that the elderly woman in Victorian garb used to wander the streets near the studio's earliest offices, muttering in a strange dialect. She often fed the pigeon obsessively, shooing away cats and scolding young children for not listening to the birds. The artist joked about her beady-eyed stare, her uncanny ability to appear at the right moment, and believed that her birds were more than they seemed. It wasn't until 1950 that the character of Granny made her first animated appearance in Carney Row, where she was eerily similar to the woman seen in Burbank, right down to her Victorian dress. The strangest part of this theory is how Granny never changes. Her Victorian era seems out of place in every cartoon era. Her house is never modernized, with its antique furniture, old clocks, and hauntingly vintage wallpaper. Tweety Bird, her only companion, acts almost like a guardian, as though he's keeping her anchored in time. Some theorists suggest that Granny is actually a ghost, based on a lost Nellie Creighton. Others believe she is a woman cursed with eternal life, bound by a forgotten experiment or a supernatural force. One final eerie piece of evidence exists in the Warner Brothers archives, a lost episode storyboard from 1958, found decades later. In it, Granny was supposed to gaze into a mirror, and for a single frame, her reflection wasn't hers. Instead, it was a younger woman, wearing a dark morning dress with a terrified expression. Episode was never completed. The reason remains unknown. Was Granny based on a real woman erased from history? Was her presence in Looney Tunes an inside joke between animators who saw nothing unexplainable? Or worse, did she always exist, waiting for someone to notice the truth? Next time you watch a Looney Tunes episode with Granny, pay close attention. Maybe, just maybe, you'll see what the animators were too afraid to show.